What a journey it has been so far. We started from a seed which germinated to a tiny plant, and then we went with it all the way till it was fully grown and we harvested and consumed it. I hope this has inspired you and gotten you excited to do something similar. I think some of you might already be planning to grow your own plant. I promise that will be a really fulfilling experience to just see a plant starting to grow and then finally to be able to harvest and consume it. So let's say for a moment that you are going to go ahead and then grow a plant. Now, the first question that you will ask is, what type of plant should I be growing? Now, to answer that, you have to think about a lot of different factors. You have to think about all these factors and pick a type that will most likely give you a good yield. One example factor can be just the size of land that you have. Do you have a flower pot? Do you have a small backyard? Or do you have a pretty decent sized farm? Depending on that, you might pick a particular type of plant. Similarly, this question is asked by farmers before they start any crop production cycle. Actually, this is a very important question for the farmer. Once they've decided on a plant, they are going to be spending anywhere between 4 to 6 months of hard work. If they choose the wrong plant that is not giving a good yield, that can be disastrous in some cases. There are many other factors a farmer must consider before choosing the type of crop. These can be things like seed availability, is there demand for that crop, can they provide the amount of labor that is needed for growing that crop. But out of all these reasons, the topmost is season. For any given crop, will it grow well and thrive in the upcoming season? Because of that importance, based on the season in which a crop grows, there are two classes of crops. These are called Kharif crops and Rabi crops. Now, what exactly is a crop? We have been using this term pretty freely, but the actual definition is that when you have a type of plant that is cultivated over a large area, then it is called as a crop. For example, if you have a farm which has a lot of wheat plants, then you would say that the farmer is growing wheat crop. So now let's look at Kharif crops. Kharif crops are those that are grown in the rainy season but are harvested in autumn. This word Kharif, it's actually an Arabic word for the autumn season. So because these crops are harvested in autumn, they are called as Kharif crops. Now, Rabi crops. Rabi crops, the definition and the background, all of it is pretty similar. The only difference being, Rabi crops are grown in winter and they are harvested in spring. So you might have guessed the word Rabi is Arabic for spring. Because these crops are harvested in spring, they are called as Rabi crops. When you think about Kharif crops in India specifically, these are generally grown between the months of June to September. This is the time in which India has monsoon. So it gets a lot of rainfall. The temperatures are generally warm. So all the crops that can thrive and do well in these conditions are called as Kharif crops. Some examples are paddy, maize, soybean, groundnut and cotton. When you think about Rabi crops in India, these are grown between the months of November and March. This again is the winter time in India. So it gets fairly less rainfall and also the temperatures are pretty low. Crops that can thrive and do well in these conditions are called as Rabi crops. Some examples are wheat, gram, pea and linseed. As usual, let's do a quick summary of what you've learned so far. So, We learned that deciding what type of crop is a very crucial decision as a farmer, and the season is the most important factor when making this decision. Based on this factor, we have two types of crops. One is Kharif crops grown during rainy season, and Rabi crops which are grown during winter season.